Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and LEAP, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with test, school, and life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the two of us today, we have over 60 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating independent educational consultant we want to profile today is Sarah Abaza. We're so glad to be speaking with you today, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Amy. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
So, Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do?
Sure. I am actually based in Cairo, Egypt. I am an IEC, independent education consultant. I am fairly new. I have only been doing this for less than 2 years, maybe a year and a half now. And I just love it. It's been really great. I love working with that age. It drives me crazy sometimes, but it's been good.
Awesome. So, how did you get your start in college consulting, and what did you do before you moved into this career path?
So actually, for 20 years, I was an entrepreneur. I had a fine jewelry business, which is very different from doing this now. I was always passionate about education and learning, and I'm someone who's the type of person who's always like taking a course here and there, learning about this and that, reading about different things. So this is always something I was very passionate about. And then when my eldest son started his college application process, I started helping him. And I just got, when you say you just like really go very deep and like sink into something. So I started getting really into it, reading so much about it, helping some of his friends as well. And then people started telling me, oh, you're actually really good at this. You know so much. You're so knowledgeable. Also living in Cairo, where this profession it's not like the US where there's a lot of options and a lot of help out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I started thinking, well, why not? So I started reading more. I did the UCLA extension certification program. And after I was like, let's just start it and see how that's gonna go. And once I finished, I was like, okay, actually, let's do this and let's see if I'm actually gonna get students. Once I started getting students, I was like, okay, I guess I'm an IEC now.
See, you're still an entrepreneur. You say you were an entrepreneur before. You are still an
Oh yeah,
entrepreneur.
and the other business is still going on, funny enough, because I couldn't just like shut it down. So I'm not as invested in it, obviously, because I don't have as much time as I do, but it's still on the side for now.
Amy and I can both attest. The only thing better than having one business is having three or four.
Yes,
Right.
I feel the same.
Although your head, it is interesting when you talk to other business owners in various industries. Very often we share often similar struggles. So the interesting thing is understanding how to run a business. While there can be differences, you can apply certain skills and knowledge and expertise to a new business or even to a different business. I'm sure you're finding that too.
Absolutely. I mean, the hardest thing before, people always used to tell me running a jewelry was like, oh my God, you deal with all these women. That must be so difficult. So now it's like, oh my God, you deal with teenagers. That is so difficult.
Actually, no, I'm thinking when you said that, I'm like, no, you're dealing with mothers of teenagers. That's so
I know, and the
difficult.
mothers. So now it's like double, double everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I can handle it. I'm good at that. It's okay.
It's so interesting how many parents, when they begin the college journey with their children, find something in that process that really sparks some excitement in them. And the idea that you want to help students on their journey, not just your own children, but lots of children, means a lot. So you went through the UCLA extension. You did a lot of research. What other training have you done, and how has your practice evolved from when you first conceived it?
What definitely helped me a lot at the beginning until now is joining professional organizations where they have like all sorts of affinity groups, webinars, online workshops. I just also came back from like a European IECA symposium in Paris. So I just try to really join and get out there I feel like, oh my God, I'm like not young, so I have so much to learn, and I already have so many students. So I try to be super like, condensed, educational, everything, just put it all. So I just learn as much as I could. So I try to do that, which honestly helps a lot. Um, I ask a lot of experienced counselors a lot of questions all the time. I'm not shy about it. If I feel like it's something, actually this is, I'm not too familiar with it. I'm not sure. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to ask for help for others who have been in this profession for a very long time. And the good thing about it is, honestly, people have been so great about it and so helpful. And everyone is super cooperative in that business, or at least from my experience. So it's been really good. And this is how I've been, growing and just learning every day something new.
So how has your practice evolved?
It's evolved. Well, at the very beginning when I started, I thought, I'm just gonna do this like part-time because I love it. I love working with, a very, very small number. That number grew, like, honestly, but it's still just me. I've never thought of making it like into a multi-counselor business. I feel like I'm the one who wants to be working with each student everything. I do have someone who helps me. I guess this is the evolving part. Like a lot of for example, if I need to like prepare a document or a file for a student, and now that I have a lot more students, it's very hard for me to find the time to do this for every single one of them. So I have someone who helps me with that. So like I can tell them, for example, prepare a document. These are the things I want you to put in it, the summer courses for this particular student. And this is, I guess, like that I have just some extra help now. So I try to juggle all the other students and the meetings and etc. It's also been sometimes when you begin, you always think, I want to work with a specific type of student. I always thought that I would be just for some reason working, because when you live in the Middle East, a lot of the parents are really just focused on getting their kids to like really top selective schools, and
Sure.
and that's it. So for some reason, I thought that this was how my business was gonna be, just based on just students who are really just aiming for these top selective schools. But now when it's different. I actually have a lot of students who are not aiming for top selective schools. And I thought that they would be harder to work with. And the truth is they're actually much easier to work with.
Right. No, Mike and I see that obviously we're in the test prep space, but there's just a variety of students, a variety of levels. And it's like we can all find people to help at different levels. And I think so that's probably because people tend to think that we only work with like Ivy League potential students. Like, no, I work with students across the spectrum.
With all
right?
kinds of students. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, when we think about maybe our ideal student, I often want to work with students who are trying to reach perfect scores. But
Mhm.
sometimes I find myself working with students who, we're just hoping for really good scores.
Mhm.
And that's
Yes.
because they're great too. And I think that as we work with students and we understand them and we learn about their individual journeys, we find something about them that we want to support, no matter what their goals are. And sometimes the best part of the process is helping them find their fit and where they're
That is
going
true.
to excel.
Absolutely. No, I've grown to realize that some of the students I thought, for example, at the beginning would be very difficult to work with because maybe they're not amazing writers, or, working on their essay is going to be so difficult. Or I've actually discovered that no, if they have just, the discipline to listen and to, just be on time and do their thing, sometimes like great things happen to them. And because they're not super stuck on one particular school or super stuck on one specific thing they want to accomplish, they are much more flexible, and hence they listen more often. They want to discover more schools. They're willing to, think outside the box a little bit. So sometimes these students tend to surprise you and get really good results at the
Well, I
end,
think
which is
probably
great.
they might be like what you're suggesting is they're more open to your advising. And the more you get to sort of
Definitely.
explore your advising, even professionally, I think I always love it when students come and you can share something that, is new or fresh or allows you to explore. And then they take that and you're like, wow, but for you, they might not have known that, which is really exciting.
Yes.
Can you share with us what are some aspects of working in college consulting that you really enjoy, that you find like kind of you're very passionate about?
Several things actually. So one thing is, I was always like, as a as a kid or as a child, I was the type of person who would every day want to have a different job. Like some days I would wake up and say, oh my God, I'd make an amazing doctor. And oh my God, I'd be such a good lawyer. And so I always felt like I wanted to learn about so many different things. And I was so confused about what was it the one thing that I actually wanted to be when I grew up. So now I feel like I get to do that because I get to learn about all these different careers or majors, schools or different things to learn about different topics and talk to them about students, whether it's through the, career exploration when they're like still younger, or then just, trying to tell them, how I feel like, for example, this program would be really good for them. So in a way, I get to discover all these different careers through my students and through the different programs. And I also love, I think the best feeling always I tell everyone is like when a student gets an acceptance from, somewhere who they really wanted to go or they're really happy and they share that with me. I feel like it's my own child. I feel like, oh my, I get so happy. I get so excited for them. And I feel like, yeah, it's such a great feeling to be able to feel like you had, even if it's a small part, you helped in that process.
I think what you're saying is what's something I experience is we get to live like 1,000 lives
Yeah.
in this business because each
Exactly.
of our students is a different life, a different path. And I think that's an exciting way to look at it, right?
And that pride
Exactly.
and that joy when they achieve their goals, right?
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Now, Sarah, is there anything about working in the college consulting space that you don't love that maybe you find frustrating or challenging?
Definitely when I, sometimes the feeling of running after a student to get something done, like I feel like I'm stalking them. Like, hi, did you get this done? Did you finish this essay? Did you do this application? And a lot of them sometimes disappear under very mysterious circumstances. And it's tough because you feel like responsible and you feel like, well, this has to get done, but I can't just keep stalking that poor kid and he's just not responding. So often when that happens, I have to get the parent involved and I have to just, give a bit of tough love and try to explain that I'm not the one who should be, running after you to get this done. This is your own, this is your stuff, this is your life. And I think this is the most frustrating part.
That is the push-pull, right? That because we're working with young adults, we want to give them a certain measure of independence. We don't want to constantly have their parents watch over to them because their emerging maturity and ability to do independent work is part of growth. It's part of this whole like getting ready for college. You have to be able to complete assignments and respond to professionals. But then, of course, at a certain point, you're like, listen, you can't ghost me on this. Like
Yeah,
we have to push
exactly. Ghosting.
forward. And
This
then
is
that, and
exactly
right,
how I feel sometimes. And I told this to a student once. I was like, listen, I'm not your ex-girlfriend, trying to get you. So please just stop like disappearing on me. That's not okay. I'm not that. I'm just trying to help.
that's fantastic.
Is there anything you'd like to share with current or future independent educational consultants?
I think it's a great profession, and I feel like, especially in the part of the world where I am based, there isn't a lot of educational consultants, and I feel if it's something you feel interested in, I absolutely encourage you finding out more about it. Getting educated is super important. Don't just do it because, oh, I've watched a few TikToks and I feel like I can do this now. Just getting educated, joining organizations or affiliations is super important, not just to learn, but for the network and for the amount of people you're going to meet. And have patience, because without patience, again, working with teenagers and moms is impossible.
Well said. Last question, Sarah, and maybe the most important. What is something most of your colleagues would be to learn about you?
I guess that I'm very international. I've lived in 4 different countries. So I really feel like I belong to so many places. And I'm not, when people say, where do you feel most at home? I feel like I have so many homes. And I truly feel like super international. I've lived in France, I've lived in the US, I've lived in Canada and in Egypt, and they're all very different. And I feel like each one of them kind of, had something to do with the way I am today.
I don't know that I'm surprised to hear
Me
that.
neither.
You're not? Okay.
Now, do you
Okay,
advise?
something else.
You
Something
seem
else. A
very
lot of
cosmopolitan,
She
Sarah.
seems very
yeah,
cosmopolitan.
a lot of people honestly get very surprised by the fact that I have an an adult man, like as a son, like my son is 20. And
Mhm.
and I also have, well, I have a middle child, but I also have a young 8-year-old. So this is also
Oh,
very,
Yeah.
I feel like, wow, you have it all. You have like a lot of different ages, and yeah, it's a handful, but it's amazing as well.
I
Yeah.
think you and Sarah, you and Amy could talk a lot, have a lot of conversations about how
Yeah,
your
About
okay. You
travel.
have the same, Amy?
lifespan and their age.
Yeah, Amy's a lot about travel. So there you go.
Okay, amazing.
But that's exciting. Yeah. No, wonderful.
Well, Sarah, we could talk about you all day. Unfortunately, we are out
Oh,
of
thanks,
time.
Mike.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thanks, Mike. Thanks so much.
If listeners would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way would be to email me at sarah@questconsulting.org.
And that's Sarah with an H.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, how could I forget? That's super important. Sarah with an H.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Tests and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Test and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.